Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wealth Whisperer podcast. I am your host and financial wellness money coach Erin.Moran, and today we're going to be chatting about FIRE, financial independence, retire early. I'm going to talk to you about how to calculate your FIRE number, different ways that you can fund your FIRE number, when should you start preparing for it, and how planning for your FIRE number helps you to live abundantly now. So grab a notebook and pen and get excited because we are going to be talking all things abundance. Firstly, let's start with the general advice warning. The information contained in this podcast is for information and educational purposes only. I haven't met your beautiful faces yet, so I cannot be giving you specific personal advice or product advice. So please use your discretion when listening to this podcast, and for any personal advice, please ensure you are liaising with a qualified financial planner. So what is FIRE? FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. At its core, FIRE is about having choices with income in your retirement. It means not solely relying on one form of income, such as the pension, or even just your superannuation, but it's about having multiple streams of income that is diverse to provide you with financial abundance in the future. And it's about designing a life that you truly want in retirement as well. What does that really look like for you? And how much do you need to be able to fund that lifestyle? You can have different forms of FIRE as well. You can have lean FIRE, fat FIRE, coast FIRE, and barista FIRE. Your lean FIRE is being frugal in retirement. So you focus on reducing your expenses, making sure your debts are all paid off, and then embracing a lifestyle that is minimalist. And that means that early retirement is possible with a smaller nest egg as compared to a traditional retirement. But it does mean that you would have to be, frugal with your savings now, and obviously in retirement as well. Then you have fat FIRE. This approach is more prioritizing luxurious lifestyles in retirement. So not only being able to cover your basic expenses, but maybe things like a holiday overseas once a year as well. This this means that you would need to have a higher savings rate as of now so that you can have a more comfortable lifestyle in retirement. Dave Ramsey says it very well when he says, if you live like no one else now, you live like no one else so that in the future you can live like no one else. Coast FIRE is focusing on accumulating enough savings now to cover your basic living expenses by a certain age, and then after you reach that point you can just coast all the way through to retirement and do whatever job it is that you want to do. So if you're in a highly stressful office job, you can use that opportunity to stash away those bonuses and that high income that you have, so that once you reach a certain age, say it's 50 or 55, you can spend the last 10 years up to retirement doing something very relaxing, like maybe working in the gardening centre at Bunnings. Those guys are always happy. So that's something else that you can do as well. So that's coast FIRE. Then barista FIRE. So this is like semi-retirement. So you would look to have some sort of financial independence and then look to bridge any gap in retirement with some part-time work. Some people can't retire. Some people hate the thought of not working again, which is fantastic, right? Everybody's different. So that's another option you can look at as well. So when we're looking at calculating your FIRE number, if the thought of never working again scares the bazookas out of you, then you can always bridge the gap of any savings with part-time work in the future. But make sure it's something that you're going to be able to do as well and enjoy. Look for things that aren't stressful. And it says barista because you can do, part-time work as a barista, but you got to think of yourself as a 70-year-old or an 80-year-old, what it is that you would want to be doing at that age, part-time. And then what sort of an income that would be bringing through for you, so that you can calculate correctly what sort of a gap that you would have. And the reason why there is such a FIRE movement, especially in Australia, is we all want that financial freedom, and we want the value of time back in our lives. Nobody wants to be working until they're 67, 70. Nobody wants that. So we need to be making smarter choices now, being more controlled with our financial decisions, so that in the future, in the near future, when it is that you want to be either semi-retired or traveling Australia in a caravan, you have the financial freedom to do so. So now we're going to talk about how to calculate it. Your FIRE number is the total amount that you need invested safely now, or not now, but safely over time, to withdraw money every year in retirement forever without running out. The basic formula for doing this is to get your annual expenses, calculate all of them, because if you've been listening to me for a while, you know you need to go through 12 months of your bank statements to find out what your true expenses are, and then times it by 25. Now, your annual expenses need to cover, if you want to be traveling overseas for 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks in retirement every year as well, you need to include that. You need to include taxes, okay? All sorts of things, maintenance to the property, put some money aside for some medical expenses as well, because you will be getting older. So put all of that into your annual expenses. What do you think that would look like for you? And then times it by 25. And the reason why we times it by 25 is because that's based on a 4% safe withdrawal rule. So whatever your FIRE number is times 25, 4% of that withdrawn each year is your FIRE number. So to give you an example, my FIRE number is 200,000. So 200,000 times by 25 gives me a FIRE number of $5 million. So that's my FIRE number, is $5 million. Because times 4% of that is $200,000 per year. So I'm taking 4% of that $5 million safely each year without touching the capital. And once I kick the bucket, the whatever's left over from my FIRE number can just go to my kids, and they can start living in abundance as well. Calculating your FIRE number, don't get scared with the number that comes up, like $5 million, okay? So if I was to put $50 a week aside each week, it's not like, how long would that take? Let me just put that in the calculator. So $5 million divided by $50, that's 100,000 weeks, okay? So don't get scared by the number that comes up. If you're going to just ignore it and just go, well, Erin, I'm never going to save that up anyways, and you're being a dumbass. Just do it, because there are many different ways to fund your FIRE number, and I'm going to take you through what that looks like, and then how you can adjust the amount of savings that you would need to have. Because remember, it's including your savings are including your superannuation as well, which is if you're working, if you're employed, I should say, that superannuation is automatically being put aside for you anyway. So that part of your savings is already happening. It's just what you're doing extra on top of that, okay? So now what we're going to look at is how the FIRE can be funded. For myself, I'm focusing on 10 different forms of income, just because it's fun and I love doing these different things. I'm a financial coach. I just love looking at different forms of income streams and calculating it and investigating it and doing all the things behind it. But to give you some idea of what it looks like, is you could invest in ETFs that provide income. So dividend payouts. You've got your superannuation, as I said, investment properties and the rental income that comes through from that, any side hustles or other dividends that you have from shares or managed funds, those sorts of things. And the way that you calculate what you have left to save is this. Say, for example, with my FIRE number, it's $200,000, because you've got to include that. You've got to pay taxes as well out of that $200,000. If you're thinking that Erin's just going to be traveling the world in retirement, you've got to take tax out of that as well, and medical expenses, blah blah blah. So $200,000. Now, having an investment property if I was to buy an investment, or when I buy an investment property, the income from that, you're going to change your language when it happens, when you buy an investment property. So the income from that is $800 a week. So you times that by 52, and that gives me $41,600 annually. So now I've got to take fees away from that. So the fees of running an investment property, so let's just take 10% away from that. And I'm left with $37,440. Because I've already calculated tax into my FIRE number anyway, I don't have to do any of that sort of stuff with that money that's left over. But then I just go minus $200,000, and now I only have to fund $162,560 in retirement. So times that by 25, and that's already reduced the savings that I need by nearly $1 million. It's taken it down to $4,064,000. So you can see how, by finding different forms of income stream through different types of investments, that you can look to fund your FIRE number. You can find different ways of being able to do it. If you want a smaller barrier to entry, so a smaller entry point, you can look at your financial markets, so your ETFs and managed funds and shares and listed investment companies. I love them. They pay me regular income every month. So if I was to have a $200,000 portfolio, say in listed investment companies, times the 4% that we're just going to stick with for this scenario. So times 4% is $8,000 per year. So then we take that off our FIRE number that was left, which is 162,560 minus 8,000. So then I only have to fund 154,560. Okay, not 52 times 25. So then it's taking the number down again that I need in savings to 3,864. And then I wouldn't even with that portfolio of 200,000. So say you were to invest that now, you wouldn't obviously take the dividends now. If you wanted it for your retirement savings, you would let it compound. So you would just let it reinvest. A lot of the LICs and ETFs and managed funds have reinvestment strategies or reinvestment options. So instead of taking the money out, you can just let the dividends buy back into the investment. So buy back into the managed fund, buy back into the ETF, or buy back into the listed investment company, and then it's just compounding over time. That portfolio will just keep getting larger and larger and larger until you're looking at taking it as an income stream. When should you start preparing for your FIRE number and start saving towards it? Well, remember the first job that you got when you were 14? Probably back then. But that's okay. You can still start now. I don't know if your parents ever spoke to you about property prices back, when they bought and all that sort of stuff. And it's just the first thought that goes through my mind. But anyway, I had amazing experiences through my teens and my 20s. And it's not that I don't regret not buying property, but it just means that I just need to get a little bit more serious now. And I am lucky that I do have a farm now, a little acreage, my 10 little acres. And it's a big blessing to me. But starting to save up for your FIRE number now is super important. And that is because it helps you to remain focused and intentional with your money and with your spending in the moment. Helps you to live in abundance with the resources that you have now, and helps show you how you can source other funds towards your FIRE number. There's a lot in the mentality that goes behind putting funds aside for your retirement, because it's very hard. We're in a world where there's no practice of delayed gratification anymore. I practice delayed gratification through planting an orchard. I'm not going to see fruit from those trees for at least a year, and I'm looking for my forever farm now. So there's a good chance that I'll never see fruit from those trees, but I still water them. I still make sure that they have plenty of nutrients and all the rest of it, because that's delayed gratification. It's the practice of waiting for something that's coming through. And we just don't seem to do that in today's society. We're so fast paced. We want everything now. We want to see the results of our hard work immediately, and it doesn't come through. It doesn't happen that way when we're looking at these sorts of things. When we're looking at long-term investments, you're not going to see the fruits of your labor immediately. So saving now, starting now towards your FIRE number is really important, because I'll give you an example, right, of training for a marathon. So I train for marathons. I travel the world running marathons, and the goal is 50 marathons around the world before I'm 50. Now, if I didn't see the results of a run, so for example, when I do my run today, if I didn't see the results of that run with a medal straight away, I can either let that dishearten me, or I can see that it's for the greater good. My goal is the marathon and getting the necklace at the marathon. I only run for jewelry, by the way. If I'm getting a necklace at the end, if there's no jewelry, if there's no medallion at the end, I don't enter a marathon. So I'm running for that jewelry. So the effort that I'm putting in now, all the training sessions that I'm doing, the eating well, all that sort of stuff is preparing me for what I truly want, which is in the future, and it's running that marathon and getting that necklace. So when it comes to your FIRE number, even though you're not going to be able to draw on the money straight away, you're not going to really see the fruits of your labor immediately, you need to view it as the steps that you are taking as almost like a workout. Like you're working towards that FIRE number, and you need to do these individual steps to be able to live abundantly in the future, and your mindset will start seeing abundance in the now. You will start finding extra money that you didn't even realize that you had, because you want to spend with intention. You'll stop going, I haven't had takeaway in God knows how long, because every time I drive past a KFC, God help me, I love KFC, but every time I drive past a KFC, I'm like, do I want to spend $30 on a lunch or $1.37 with what I already have at home and put the rest towards my future? I'd rather put the rest towards my future, because my future really excites me. I have a big plan for what's in my future. So maybe that's something that you need to do first, is get really clear on what your future is and what it looks like to you and what your dream future is. Never settle for anything less than everything you've ever dreamed of. I say that to myself every day. Even the really hard days where I think I'm just not going to make it in business, I go, well, Erin, never settle for anything less than everything you've ever dreamed of. You just have to keep bloody going. So start on that maybe first. What does retirement look like for you? Why does that excite you? What is your dream reality? And then look to start creating it now with the feelings. So if you're wanting to feel at peace, if you're wanting to feel happiness, if you're wanting to feel you want to be more out in nature and all those sorts of things, see what you can do now to be living that life. It doesn't cost money to go on a hike. You know, that's a free activity. And if that's something that you dream about doing in retirement, just bloody do it now, you know. So back to when you should start preparing for your FIRE number. So about 20 years ago, but that's okay. You're going to start now, and you're going to look at those different types of investments and think to yourself, right, my entry point is I can buy an investment property, which means I can, you know, quickly start building up my FIRE number or building up towards my FIRE number. Or if you're on the opposite end and you're just starting out in investing and you don't have the entry point quite yet for an investment property, you can look at other points of entry, such as your ETFs and managed funds and all those sorts of things. The ASX requirement, when you're looking at things like individual indices, I love those sorts of things, so I love doing the research behind them. And I think it's $1,000 you have to start. $500 might be $500 you have to start with to get into an investment first, and then it doesn't matter after that. You can just buy one share at a time. So every time I pay myself, I give myself a pay rise by adding towards my portfolio. So just look at the different types of investments available to you that's at your current entry point. And remember, if you want personal advice, make sure that you're speaking with a financial planner, not an Instagram finfluencer thing. There's some really great financial planners on Instagram, but if they're giving you personal advice via Instagram, they're garbage. Okay, a good financial planner does not do that. A good one sits down with you, understands exactly that, what your future is, what your dream life is, and helps you get there based on your risk profile. So what's going to make you comfortable getting there, and making sure that you're going to do it in a realistic time frame. So how planning for FIRE will help you to live abundantly now. I hope I've explained that really well, because you'll start being more intentional with your spending and realize that you can live in the feelings that you're chasing. Because if you think about it, right, if you want to win the lottery, right, why do you want to win the lottery? This is a good exercise to do. Why is it you want to win the lottery? What goes through your mind when you win the lottery? Is it because you're going to be debt-free? Well, you can start doing that now. You can put together a debt reduction strategy and to get yourself debt-free, so you can start doing that now. Is it because you want to be able to buy a property and live on acreage because you just want to be out in nature? Well, find ways to be out in nature now. You know, go on those bushwalks, go on those hikes, go camping, all those sorts of things. Start living what you picture your dream life to be if you were to win the lottery. Find ways of being able to do it in your current life now. So I hope I've made that clear about how to live in the abundance and how planning for your fire helps you to live in abundance now. It's not about having millions in the bank necessarily, saving up for your fire number. It's not really about that. What it's about is about giving you the freedom to be able to make choices in your future. It's about making you feel financially safe and supported and really in control of your financial future. So if you start planning for your fire number today, then this will help you to not only live in abundance now, but to live in abundance in the future. So I hope this episode has sparked something in you. If it has, take that energy with you and run with it. I hope you've had your notepad and pen and done your own calculations. Remember tax. God, I hate it. Every time I do these calculations, I'm like, that bloody tax. But anyway, it always pops around. So remember to calculate that in there. Remember to calculate things like medical expenses, if you want to go on holidays, all that sort of stuff. And get clear on what your fire number is. And then start tracking towards it. You know, try the opening up an investment account, or, you know, buying that investment property, whatever it is that you want to do. And if you have any questions, if you want to discuss any sort of personal strategies, you can always reach out to me directly at Erin.Moran at stallionfinancialgroup.com.au. You can also follow me on socials, which is Erin.Moran Money Coach. That's my personal one. And then there's Stallion Financial Group, which is the business one. Have an amazing rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a fantastic one. It is a short week, and I will be back next Wednesday. Take care. Bye.